Okay, so this is a Canvas workshop. This is not the kind of overall introduction to Canvas, how to log in and all that sort of stuff. This is this is a workshop on kind of a few tips and tricks, a couple little best practices that you can use in Canvas, or if you're not sure why or how you could use Canvas to supplement your on-campus class, or if you're curious about teaching online, here are just kind of a couple fun things that you can do, fun and helpful, useful things. So I have two things to show you about Canvas. One is not necessarily specifically tied to Canvas. It's something I've done with other course management systems like Etudes and Blackboard and that. Just something you can do with the discussion board tool. And the other one is a Canvas specific thing. So this is showing you something from my live class. This is a course that I'm currently teaching. So one of the I think the second assignment of the semester is a summary response essay. They read Carr's "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" which, even though written some time ago, still is fairly relevant, because the argument says Carr argues that the way that we use the internet is changing how we actually think, how we read and how we process information. Deceptively, he's not actually arguing that it makes us dumber, but just that it changes how we read, right? And it's actually, like, he has a lot of moving parts to the article, a lot of tangent and supporting arguments, and the summary for the students can be kind of challenging. And I was thinking, well, for a discussion, maybe one thing I can do is to kind of chop up the discussion, make people, or have students be responsible for different sections of the text. Sometimes people in on-campus classes would say, like, all right, this group is responsible for these 5 pages, this group is responsible for these 5 pages, this group is responsible for these 5 pages. Turns out you can just kind of adapt that process or that kind of lesson for online use. So the way to set it up is actually super simple. So we're going to my discussions page, and what we have is Google Making Us Stupid. I believe this is a summary. Yep. Okay, so it's just a discussion post. I set it up. I set up the parameters for what I'm expecting. So we'll say we'll try an experiment in multiple summaries. You'll need to have read the essays, Google Making Us Stupid, in our book, 50 essays, although I also will let students know that it is generally available online, PDF, and that sort of stuff. So I said, choose one section of Carr's essay to summarize. And I tried to cut things up so they're kind of natural breaks. So these page sections, I ask students to identify what they're summarizing, what they're responding to. And then, so here's the kind of evaluation for their summaries. And then I end up, I encourage them to reply to 2 other student summary posts. I leave the expectations for the reply a little vague, because I don't want to direct their responses too much, you know. I also encourage them to say, like, if you see a lot of people are choosing pages 87 and 90, please choose something else that isn't so popular on the discussion board. And it turns out to actually be fairly equitable. I was curious about how that would work out the first time I did this, or the first couple times, and so I tracked how many posts there were about each section, and it actually worked out to be about equal. The students were pretty good about kind of organically, covering the whole text. It was also kind of helpful in seeing, and like in reading their comments, I found that students will comment on sections that they themselves did not summarize, so they're engaging kind of different parts of the text. So that's worked out pretty well. So that's that. One of the things with Canvas is that they say that they have threaded discussions, and technically they sort of do, but in use or practice they kind of don't. When we think about threaded discussions, it's like, you would see a major post and then subordinate posts, and you maybe click on the subordinate post and you'd see who replied from there and there and there on. And they really only show us by how far it is indented, but it's a long scroll of posts nonetheless. There is a feature in Canvas where you can assign students. You can tell Canvas to assign students other people's posts to reply to. I'd say there are kind of mixed reviews on that. I started using that the first couple times I used Canvas, and then found that sometimes students were being assigned to reply to somebody who hadn't done the work. And that gets like, oh, and then they would be, and I make these discussion posts worth points, right? So like, I was assigned to reply to somebody and they never did it. Am I gonna lose the points? Like, oh, well, I don't know what, okay, we're not doing that anymore. So now I just have students reply to whatever's there. So that's a quick thing. Other really helpful things with the discussion board, one of the things I think have been really good is that it's really helpful for draft discussions, because students, if they choose to, they can review a lot more than just, say, the 1 or 2 drafts that they might have time for in class. If they're curious how their classmates are handling a particular assignment, they're not sure what to do, they can review a lot more examples than they would ever have time to in a 1 to 2 hour class. So that's a helpful thing there, and everything works fairly similarly here.